Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. You know it is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We are live today. Y'all are wondering what's going on. It's a Q&A session, basically. Y'all got any questions or anything, you can bring them into the chat so that way you know they can be answered. So if you got any PC questions or anything else, we can go from there. But I got a couple things I'm going to bring up too that a lot of people are asking questions about. So I have had a couple questions that were brought into mind. And a couple things I want to clear up. So make sure you got drinks and snacks, by the way. I got ice this time. Yay. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and just roll with it, and everybody comes in, they can check out the beginning of it and the beginning of the stream and, see what I was talking about. But I'm going to say like this. On my last video, Graphics Card Nightmares, I put at the beginning a little something something. And that was because of the before video about boosting your graphics card. Or not your graphics card. Boosting your system RAM. That's better. And the thing is this. If you're installing Windows for the first time, and I'm going to bring this point clear. This was brought up by one of the subscribers, which I do appreciate. And I should have brought this up in the beginning of the video. But my mind slipped on me. So that's my bad to y'all. If before you decide to start overclocking, keep your system RAM at stock. Keep your BIOS at stock. Install Windows. And then do all the updates and get all that out of the way before you go and experimenting with your PC. So this way, if you go to overclock, there's nothing that's going to take and corrupt any software or anything else. You know what, really, and I'm going to be honest with you, I even overclocked my RAM and did an install and didn't have that problem. But just in case you do, follow that recommendation. So, and I know there's going to be a lot of questions too about, and we got that off to the side now. I know there's going to be a lot of questions too. Can you use an M.2 NVMe drive in your USB? The USB-A slot. Yes, you can. They have adapters. You can go on Amazon and go buy yourself an adapter with the USB plug on it, USB-A plug, and you can take and adapt an NVMe M.2. Don't expect it to be fast. Running it off the USB port, they say use it off a USB 3.1. You have a USB 3.1. But if you go to use anything off of your USB, the new motherboards come with USB 4.0. The 800 series motherboards, they come with USB 4.0, and they do 10 gigabits per second. So if you're going to do something like that, you need a motherboard that's going to handle that kind of speed. Now, another thing, it's going to draw a lot of power from that USB slot. So if you don't want to burn out your USB slot, I suggest you not use it on the front header and you use it on the back of the motherboard. So you got two spots. You got your front plugs, USB plugs in the front. Excuse me. And you got your ones in the back of your PC. Use the ones in the back of your PC. That's the best way to do it. Use the 3.1 slot on the back of your motherboard, not off the 3.1 header that's on your motherboard. There's two sides to this. It's not confusing, so. But if you're going to use an M.2 drive and you don't have a spare PCIe connector, then you can do another way. You can take and replace your regular hard drive with an SSD for your operating system. Like I said, and machine, yes, I'm bringing this up because I just want to make it clear. There's more than one way that you can use M.2 drives on your PC. There's more than one way. You can get a docking system and you can plug in your M.2 drives. Just make sure you got a heat spreader on them, just to say. So this way it'll dissipate heat. You just don't want to put them raw and out there without having some kind of spreader. But the little sticker is supposed to be a heat spreader, so there's two ways you can go about it. So, but just to let you know, it can be done. Also, too, they got little drive bays that you can plug M.2 drives into. You can plug two M.2 drives into a drive bay, which will plug into your SATA ports where your existing regular hard drive is. They got ones you can plug in two NVMe drives. So let's say you want to do 2 terabytes and you want 1 terabyte for your operating system, and you want 1 terabyte just for your games. So you can split them that way. Hello, player. Good to see you. Good to see you. So they do make twin drives like that. So I'll go ahead and I'm just going to bring this out, and I'm just going to take and go to Amazon. And I guess you guys are just going to have to go along. So hold your hat. Okay, now we're on Amazon. And Prime Day is coming up. It is coming up. Prime Day is almost here. Let's see. M.2 NVMe dock. So they got different docks that you can use. Like this one right here is $33. They got one right here is $31. They got another one here. Another dock. They got this one here. Looks like they got a fan on this one. There's many different docks. If you're looking to dock a USB drive in, or M.2 drive in. So, that's something to keep in mind. They got this one right here, but I don't think you're going to spend $850. So, we're not going to go there. They got many dockers. They got this one right here for $16. They got this one right here for $14. What you're looking for is the key. This is M key. Okay, you want multiple keys. You do want multiple keys. They got this one right here if you want to clone. All depends on what you want. They got this one, looks like it's got a cooling station on it. Yep. So, they got this one's got a cooler station on it too. Nice. They got another docking station. They got many docking stations. If you're looking to do that. Okay, or you can do SATA to so if you're looking to do a SATA to NVMe, they got one right here. It's not compatible with SATA drives or M.2 MVA. Yep, M.2 SSD converter. So this one's for $30. Looks like a single drive. This looks like a single drive. This looks like a NGFF to SATA. Adapter card B. You can use those. Those are not bad. You just got to make sure it supports NVMe. That's what you need to make sure of. I like to keep them in a case, encased in a metal connector. I mean, a metal box. So this way there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They got this one right here. Nice little docking. That's if you don't got any PCIe ports that are available. There are ways, to do this. So this is an M key. That'll work just fine too. If you're looking to replace your regular hard drive, this will be a good replacement if you want to keep it M.2 NVMe. So, yeah, I mean, machine, if you look at them, this is NGFF, but it shouldn't, it's a 4X SSD, so but if you do get one, try to get one that's NVMe, because you want to get the full spectrum and speed of what you're trying to do. So, bring you guys back. Okay. Yeah, anytime you want to get I don't recommend the NGFF, okay? I'm not a fan of it. NVMe, I'm a fan of. I run all NVMe in here. If you don't have a spot, oh, you're welcome, machine, no problem. I just wanted to clear this up. If you're trying to, if you don't have a M.2 slot on your motherboard, you don't have any PCIe extra connectors open because you're using a graphics card, you got all these obstacles in your way. But you have one advantage. You have, come on guys, think about it. What do you have? You have a hard disk drive plugged into a SATA port, that which most of your motherboards come with 4 SATA ports at least. So what you can do is you can get one of those M.2 NVMe's and plug it into one of your SATA ports. Then after that, if you want to transfer and clone your regular hard drive to that new NVMe, you can clone it. And then once it's done cloning, then you shut your PC down normally, and then you take your regular hard drive out and replace it with that new NVMe M.2 drive, and then turn it back on. The controller board that's for that SATA port, that's for that NVMe drive, will register it as a SATA port. So if you're wondering, is there going to be extra drivers or anything else, Once you clone it from point A to point B, it automatically activates that drive. If you use like Rufus or something like that to clone your drive from one drive to the next, because the simple fact is your regular hard drive is already set up with all the drivers and everything else. Nothing changes. The only thing that changes is the drivers to the for the SATA. But that's automatically detected and already put in there once you plug it in as a secondary drive. Once you move it to a primary drive, the computer is already recorded as a secondary drive, and then you put it into the primary slot, boom, you're off to the race. So basically you can run it as a primary drive. And then if you got another SATA port open, you can take and make another M.2 NVMe, SSD off of one of those drives and have a secondary, put it in for a secondary SATA. Or you can do it that way. Me on the other hand, that would be the best way to save yourself a little bit of cash. So that's if you don't want to get another motherboard, you just want to use the same motherboard. But do realize that motherboard is only going to be accessible up to 4 gigabits per second. Depending on the motherboard, between 4 and 6 gigabits per second. So it is going to change a little bit. It will give you at least 2 gigabits per second for data transfer. So at least, most of your standard computers now these days go between 2 and 7 gigabits per second. A normal computer goes between 2 and 7. So if you're getting between 2 and 7 gigabits per second, you're fine. So keep that in mind. So hopefully everybody's having a great day. I know I told y'all that if y'all got a bunch of questions, you can always bring them in. I know somebody's going to have a quick question for me. So I am leaving that line open for when you guys ask questions, and I'm watching the chat. So do keep that in mind. But I want to bring out something else. Let's go back to the action screen. Okay. They're saying this about the Core Ultra 200K in October, more likely. I'm hearing rumors and speculations for Arrow Lake to be coming in December. That's just a rumor and leak. I would hope they would have brought it in October or September. But it looks like, coming to what they're doing here, this is the schedule that people posted. They got the WW34 and 36 on the August 19th through the September 8th. The 200K retail coming in October 2024. So, they got the KQS in December. The non-K and the KQS in December. December 2nd through the 15th. People are thinking that it's going to launch between December 2nd through the 15th. So, there's a lot of rumors going on. They're saying October, some are saying November, some are saying December, but they're not sure. But this one here says, and this is from a prominent site, and this is from videocards.com, says in the future there should be more information to confirm whether Arrow Lake Intel Core Ultra 2 series processors and 800 series chip motherboards will be launched in October as scheduled. This is Bench Life that brought it up. So, just to keep that in mind, if y'all are waiting for Arrow Lake, then look in between, I'm going to say between September and December. So, in between any one of those times, Intel might launch it. So, if they don't launch it in September, then they might do it in October. If they don't do it in October, they might do it in November. If they don't do it in November, then they might do it in December, or they just might launch it in January of next year. Who knows? It all depends on what kind of base they're going to get because of AMD. Now, bringing up AMD, now this is really going to kick y'all, and this is a rumor that's going around. It says AMD Ryzen 9 9950X CPUs tested with unlimited PPT. Unlimited PPT. Mode 300. Right here. 320 watts of power. That is insane. 320 watts of power for a CPU. That is insane. Over 5.5 gigahertz clocks across all cores. 40% faster versus 14900K. Well, I can tell you right now, the way the 14900K is going, I can tell you right here that until they get that power problem fixed, looks like everybody's going to be coming over to AMD. So, let's look on down the road. I wanted to do this really quick because I thought this would be more interesting to you guys. You know, AMD's Ryzen 9 9550X CPUs have been tested with 5.5 gigahertz all-core overclock, and again using an unlimited power profile pushing 320 watts of power. Now, I pray to God none of you ever push your processor that high, because 320 watts of power would be equal to, well, what, a 4070 Ti Super? Maybe. So, looks like you better have at least 1,000 watt power supply if you're ever going to run this processor with the Ti Super, 4070 Ti Super. At least 1,000 watts. But with NVIDIA coming up with their new graphics cards, they might push the limits of 400 watts. So you still got to allow yourself 150 watts for transient spikes. So that's about close to almost 550 watts for your GPU. And then you got to look at the 320 watts that your processor would pull. So you got to look at 800 to 1,000, 1,100 watts, maybe. Sick. So then you're probably going to need to go up to a 1,200 watt power supply if you're going to run that. And probably by the time they come out with the next generation after that, you're probably going to need a 1,600 watt power supply. Excuse me. That's sick. Who knows what the 9950 X3Ds are going to bring? They're already saying they can overclock those. That's going to be even more sick. If you think about it, you can, and the amount of cache that's going to have, That's just it's going to be insane. And there ain't no way Intel's going to be able to keep up with that. Especially with them removing hyper-threading from Arrow Lake and using their E-cores to use it as a substitute. I don't think they're going to survive this one. I can already tell you. It's starting to look like AMD's king when it comes to CPUs. It is starting to look like AMD is king. Or queen, you know. But let's see. AMD Ryzen 9950X. We already went through all that. The final bomb of the AMD 9950X CPU test has been dropped by Anatech former member Igor, you know Igor, but who've been showing us how the 16-core flagship scales at various TDP limits. With Blender benchmarks, so far he has shown 60 watts, 90 watts, 120 watts, 160 watts, 230 watts PPT results, and now we have two new entries, one with a 5.5 gigahertz overclock at 253 watts, and one with an unlimited PPT. We're not going to fit it all into the screen, but well, it is a little bit shy of 5.5. But looking at it, oh, y'all are going to get mad at me because y'all saying, Jay, you forgot the big booty cursor again. I know. I forgot it. I forgot it. Let's go ahead and just blow it up. There we go. Now we got it. Look at this. Look at that. It is hitting 5.5 gigahertz at 80 C, 80 degrees Celsius. Sick. Well, that doesn't make me feel bad about mine. Hitting 4.7 gigahertz at 72 C. So, I'm not too disappointed. Wow. 100% CPU. Let's see. Oh, they're using the PBO tuning and PPT Unlimited with water cooling. They're using water cooling for this. Well, why are they hiding that? Why'd they cut that little piece out? That don't make sense. You're hiding something. The hell are they hiding right there? We'll find out. I'm going to tell you that much. Let's see. Well, that don't make sense. They're only hitting 3 gigabits per second on the read, but 0.073 gigabytes on the write. What the hell? Their CPU PPT fast limit's only at 31.8%. Look at that. How can they hit that kind of clocks with those low limits? How the hell? Some ain't right, guys. Let me show you why. Your T-die's matching with... Okay, hold on a minute. So your T die you're missing your CPU log. What the hell? They took out the amount of temperature for your CPU. To check the cores. Am I missing something? The U clock's at 2000 megahertz. The F clock's at 2133. Okay, so let's get this calculator out. So we got the 2133 times 2. Something ain't right. How could they be running the memory at 4266 megahertz? There is something wrong with this guy. There is no freaking way. That would be equal to AM4 motherboard. That would be equal to an AM4 motherboard. What the hell? See, this is how you backtrack somebody. You know, I'm just backtracking. Let's see. Core utility. Core utilities not even opened up. Wonder why. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting there, guys. The voltage is only running at 1.226 volts. The max was 1.287 volts. I don't know. This is weird. That is weird. Sipping up to 320 watts of power. Okay, so because the CPU PPT hit 318 watts. But the core SoC miscellaneous power was only at 309. So it went in between 281. CPU package power was only 318. That's crazy amperage. They have the voltage set on the CPU for 1.299 volts. That's the VDD. The SoC was set at 1.185. Miscellaneous secondary voltage 1.1. Okay. Wow. All right. I didn't see that where they're saying this. Excuse me. Didn't see that. Close to it, but not everything was there. Oh, damn. I don't think so. Hold on, guys. I'm going to mute the microphone for a minute. Coughing too much. Had to get that cough under control, guys. But wow. Here's a little bit of benchmarking. Monster. Let me get this in a little bit of perspective. So. We'll just look at this. 230 watts. 353. This is at 230 watts PPT. I can tell you at 5.5 gigahertz OC, unlimited PPT, that must be where they were talking about the 320 watts. What do you all think? I don't know. I mean, the 7950 is right down here at 230 watts. 14900K is right down here at 270. This is at 120 watts. This is at 253 watts. This is at 142 watts. And this is at 60 watts. So, $5950X at 142 watts. That's about right. That's about right for the 5950X. But it's still faster than a 12900K. So, I don't know. It seems like that, you know, they're reaching for straws. But I need to know if this is short time or long time. And what I mean by short time is it like less than 2 minutes on a short term that this testing was done, less than 2 minutes, or what was it done for over 2 hours plus? Now, you have to gauge it in two different sections. One, you have to gauge it for the first 2 minutes for your short burst, and then you have to gauge it after that for 2 hours in your long-term burst. Is it going to remain the same clocks all the way through the first 2 hours? That's another question. Or was this just a first 2 minutes or less, and they're giving you this test result? We don't know. See, if you got to look at the short term to the long term. When you're playing a game, last thing you want to happen is the clocks to drop. That's the last thing you want to have happen, because then your FPS starts to drop. And then you start getting into a bottleneck scenario. So you don't want to get into that. But if they're saying it's going to be 38% faster than a 14 or a 38% over a 7950X, but it's 40% improvement over a 14900K. But what's the cost? If this 9950X is this bad to the bone, what do you guys think it's going to cost? That's going to be the question. What do you think it's going to cost? You think it's going to cost you a couple $100? No. You're looking at probably a $600 to $700 chip. You're looking at a $600 to $700 chip for a 9950X. There's no way AMD is going to let that go for any cheaper if it's taking out the flagship 7950X. That's a flagship. Or if it takes out the 7950X 3D. But they didn't test it against that. So, who knows if it's going to be equal to it or if it's going to beat it. But they're not showing that benchmark. I don't think. Let me go back. I want to look again. Let's see. 7950X. And that's all they put it against was the 7950X. It'll probably look really dumb if they put a 7800X3D in there and use half of the amount of power, but still get the same amount of clocks as the 9950X. That must be the reason why they didn't put it out there. So that makes me wonder that too, guys. That makes me wonder about that too. So, I don't know. That seems a lot of baggage. That seems like a lot of baggage. Move this down a little bit. To me, that seems like a lot of baggage. Hello, John Paul. Good to see you. Probably wait for the 9000X3D chips. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking to myself that if the 7800X3D that they didn't put in there is doing just the same, even better than the 9950X, this might be the reason why they didn't put it in there. They put their secondary chip in there. They put another X chip in there, and they figured since the 7950X doesn't cut the mustard, why not just put a BS CPU there and make it look good for the 9950X? Is pretty much what they did. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you're happy with your 7950X 3D, bro. The thing is this. I'm looking at this 9950X, and if they're going to charge close to $700 for this processor, then it better have something it better smoke all 7000 series processors. Every one of them. If that 9950X can't smoke any one of those 7000 series processors, it's not worth buying. It is not worth buying. Even the X3Ds, it should be better than the X3Ds and everything. Because remember, they went from 7000, they skipped over the 8000, and they went to the 9000. I don't think y'all want to use the 8000 APUs, because they used the 8000 series for the APU lineup. But they got the 9000 series, and that should be overtaking the 7000 and the 8000 series. If that makes sense to you, but it should. But their 9950X is their flagship CPU for the next generation. Should be smoking every CPU that's on the market. In AMD's lineup, it should take them all out. It should be faster than any processor on their lineup. Until you come to the 9950X 3D. That's a different story. Then that would become their flagship. But something tells me that they might have an issue. They might have a big issue like Intel has with the overheating issue. I don't know. It's just, to me, I'm not having much faith in this so far. John says, I'm more interested in the 8000 series Radeon than the 9000 series CPUs. Hey, we all are. But when you hear that they put it on production and then they take it off production, then they put it back on, they take it off, they put it back on, they take it off, what kind of message is that really sending to you when it comes to the GPUs? What kind of message is it sending? To me, it's sending negative. It's sending me negative vibes. Just like with NVIDIA, they're waiting for this next event that's coming up soon. And they're going to launch, they're supposed to launch the 50 series in this next event that's coming up. I had all that on my phone and I didn't bring it, but I'm thinking that they got this next event coming up. I keep forgetting the damn event. Ugh. I gotta look on my phone to see what that event is. So let's see. Let's see if I can pull it up. I'm looking, guys. Wow. That much. Now, unless you guys can find it faster than I can. It's supposed to be in September, I think. It's supposed to be an event in September. Well, we'll look this way. Just give me a moment. We're trying to look. Oh, you guys help me find this. This is supposed to be. We'll check in the Insider. Game Discovery Exhibition 17th and 18th. The Bit Summit Drift 19th through the 21st. Game Dev Evening the 19th through the 21st. Oh, yeah, that's it. SIGGRAPH 2024. Looks like it's in Denver. And it's July 28th through August the 1st. That's what it is. SIGGRAPH. So. That's where they're supposed to be announcing the 50 series for NVIDIA. So, just to give you that heads up, that's the leak that I was getting. You know, and it's almost, they said it's almost confirmed it's going to be there. So, and if that's the case, then AMD might be launching some of their stuff there as well. You know. Let me get out of this right here. Okay. I had to clean up my screen a little bit. So what do you all think? Are they going to be waiting to do this at the SIGGRAPH or what? I mean, it's going to be a little while away, but not that much. Hopefully they launch something. It seems like this year has turned out to be, and hear me out, seems this year turned out to be the CPU year. That everybody's waiting to the end until 2025 to start doing GPUs again. So it kind of makes you think that, you know, this is the way they're lining it up. But if they do a paper launch in September and say, okay, but we're not launching the GPUs until 2025, that's really going to hurt everybody. They're going to be like, oh, I got to wait that long. Yeah. If you already got a GPU and you're happy with it right now, just stay with it. Until, and truthfully, with all these problems that they're having with their CPUs, I would suggest, and this is me, I would suggest wait until the benchmarks actually come out from these big reviewers before you decide to put your money down on the table and say, I'm going to get this. You're best off to wait until they come out with the product and it gets tested. Because look at what happened with the 7000 series CPUs. And then the little fire that they were having on the CPUs with the motherboards for AMD. And look at now what's happening with the same thing happening with Intel on their 13th and 14th gen, that they might have to do a recall. They might have to recall all 13th and 14th gen processors back to the company. Because they might have had a screw up somewhere on the architecture of the CPUs. So, something to think about. Being able to do one upgrade at a time after being able to save up for it. I know I have a very nice AMD machine currently. Hey, so do I. Look, everybody cracks on the fact that I got a 5700X. I got an AM4 motherboard, 5700X. I got the RTX 4070. Not the Super, the original 4070. But everybody says, well, you know, you need to go get a new motherboard because your processor can't keep up. You know, every time I hear a comment like that, I'll be like, you know, what the hell, man? I know some people that are running AM2. AM2. Like a 3600 or something like that. With the 40 series graphics cards. Figure that one out. You don't see anybody running up to them saying, hey, you know what? You need to replace your processor. Your CPU is too slow. That's what I'm saying. I'm not complaining about my AM4 motherboard. I'm not complaining about using 64 gigs of 3200 CL16 RAM boosted to 3400 megahertz, which I have already clocked this up to 3600 megahertz on the RAM, and it held stable. It held stable. So I'm not complaining about it. You know, it's just, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about, because I took pictures. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Because everybody thinks I'm totally crazy. They're thinking in their mind, oh my God, he's just a crazy guy. He don't know what he's talking about. Okay, y'all keep thinking I'm crazy. Y'all keep thinking I'm crazy. But I'm not. Let's see. That's not the one we wanted. That's not the one we wanted. Ooh, Lordy. Let's see. Nope. 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 Yep. Let's see. Let's move it up into the world. Okay. So. Let's go back to the action screen. There. Right here. And pull it up. Now, I wanted to bring this up just to let you know. This is my PC. This is 3600 MTs. Right here. Right here. Just showing you, I have already overclocked my RAM. And that's 4 sticks. So, let's see. John Paul says, my AM4 base was very nice. I passed on my older hardware to a friend's, and he's so happy. What he got from me was like 2 times the capabilities that he had before that. That's cool. That is cool. Oh, you mind? Hush. Doggy. It's going. But as you can see, yeah. I mean, I'm just proving this point because the thing is I want everybody to understand that you can clock your RAM up that high and still be stable. I mean, still be stable. So let's see, what else do I have? I took some more pictures. Did I take some pictures? Yeah. Actually, no. But I did take a picture of Task Manager, so we'll have to explore this again. Just to say, we'll have to explore this again. and take you guys on a live roll. So, there we go. But I'm just making a point. Okay? I got 4 sticks. Each one of them 16 gigs each. They're all matched. Read my lips. All matched. They're all the same numbers. All matched. And they're all 3200 megahertz CL16 RAM. All matched. And I took it all the way up to 3600 megahertz. With the F clock at 1800. For some reason, I said on that one video that 3400 was at CL18. That was my bad. It was CL17. Not CL17. The F clock was 1700 megahertz. Oh, so confused sometimes. See, that's because everybody just gets me all confused. Ugh. But the point is this. Did I test it? Yes. How did I test it? I tested it on the first Descendant. I went into that game, the game that I've made a couple videos on already. I went into that game, fired it up, with the RAM being clocked out at that being that high. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I really didn't. It stayed right there. You build a machine for your needs and then max it out, even if it's older gen, that doesn't matter really. Very nice. Well, thanks. Well, yeah. It doesn't matter. I mean, people see your system's built with different parameters. Everybody's PC is not the same. And I've always said this because everybody builds differently. Me, on the other hand, I definitely built way differently. Because the way this operating system, when I first started my build journey, my first operating system that I loaded was Windows 10. Just hear me out. But that was on a different PC, on a regular hard drive. So when I got my B450 motherboard from Asus, and I got my AMD processor, was the 5600G, I turned around and I cloned the regular hard drive onto my M.2 drive. Now, keep in mind that regular hard drive was plugged into an Intel system running Windows 10. I moved it over, cloned it, put it onto an M.2 drive, plugged it into the B450 motherboard with the 5600G. Worked fine. Then, that same drive, I took it over to my B550 motherboard. Did not change the operating system. Same operating system. Plugged it into my B550 motherboard. No problem. Still the same operating system. Went from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Operating system changed. But the parameters of Windows 10 is still on this M.2 drive. Still got some remnants of the Windows 10 and upgrading to the Windows 11. Still the same drive. Not once, and I want you guys to understand this, not once have I redid the operating system and started fresh. Not once. So, this crap that I keep hearing on the internet of that you need to put fresh new drivers and everything else, and you need to do everything all fresh. I really wish they would stop saying that. I really do. I really do wish they would stop saying that. Hold on a moment. Let me pause the microphone. Sorry about that, guys. Neighbors and they're yakking. I had to holler out there to say, what the hell? So, but anyway, getting back to the story, I hear everybody say, well, you know, because your drivers become unstable and this and that. No, they don't come unstable. Only way it becomes unstable is if you load the wrong ones. But I can tell you, going from Windows 10 to Windows 11 and going from 3 different motherboards, Intel motherboard to AMD motherboard to another AMD motherboard, 1, 2, and 3. Same operating system. How I get away with it, who knows? But I'm just saying. You think I'm going to spend a whole bunch of time taking and refreshing and starting over, and all you're doing is you're ripping out the drivers. You're ripping everything out and starting over. Does it slow your system down? No. Do you think my system slowed down? No. You think those little extra DLLs that sit in there are doing anything, that are harming anything? No. There are some of your programs that use these extra little DLLs for those programs. Once you start ripping programs out, and you start ripping drivers out and replacing everything, your programs go to crap. just like with my Second Life, that right there, has a viewer, that I have to use, and if I go ripping everything out, guess what? Screws up the whole viewer. Instead of leaving it as a whole into the system, because you got to understand, when you use your system over time, you're racking up a history. Okay, so no worries. I have done that same exact thing. Yeah, believe it or not. I mean, I found it to be a big waste of time when it comes to refreshing the operating system. Then you got to put in all new drivers. You got to put it all back to square one. It just becomes a waste of time. My opinion. As long as you update the main support software, which I always do, BIOS and etc. for new hardware, you will be fine for the most part. I do agree with that 100%. I do agree with that. Okay? I always do. I don't have a problem. But I hear this on YouTube all the time. That, if you want better gameplay, you need to do this. You need to take and start with the fresh operating system. Okay, what they don't tell you. Now, I'm going to give you a helpful hint. What they don't tell you is this. Before you go to do any updates, when you go to play your games, those drivers are maximized at 100%. This is the reason why some creators, they don't update their software. They just use the original drivers instead of upgrading them slowly but surely. Because once you start putting Windows updates in, it starts slowing your system down just a little bit. Until it starts balancing out, then it comes right back up again. So, There's a pro and a con to putting in Windows updates. Because if Microsoft does an update and it's totally wrong, then it can slow your system down. When I play games, a lot of people ask me the questions. When I play games, do I have secure boot on? Yes. When I play games, do I have the antivirus on? Yes. When I play games, do I have things running in the background? No. Depends. If I'm recording it, I'm going to have OBS that's recording, and, that's the only thing that's going to be running is OBS. So, hello MTBK, good to see you, good to see you. So, but looking to the factors of what's going on, sorry about all the noise, guys, we're just going to have to deal with it. If you switch from, say, an AM4 Asus motherboard to an AM5 Asus motherboard, that swap won't necessarily affect your system in a major negative way. No, it won't. But what would affect my system, believe it or not, what would affect it would be that if I went from an Asus motherboard to a Gigabyte motherboard. Because the parameters on Gigabyte's different from Asus. So if I went from the B550 Asus motherboard up to a B650 Asus motherboard, no, it's not going to affect it. Or if I go up to anything, as long as I stay with Asus, the driver parameters stay the same. But if you go, let's say if I wanted to go with ASRock or MSI, and MSI's got big troubles right now, by the way, or Gigabyte, you go Gigabyte, MSI, ASRock, and I switch over to one of those motherboards, well, the drivers are going to change. The parameters of the drivers are going to change. So that means it's kind of going to lock up. It will lock you up. So, I already had somebody test this for me, so I already know the answer. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. If you're following the same motherboard preferences, like mine's following the Strix gaming motherboard. As long as I'm following the Strix gaming motherboard, then I should be okay. If I go and let's say I wanted to do an Aorus motherboard on the same operating system, then I got to do a lot of cleanup for the drivers and stuff like that. So yeah, you switch between manufacturers. Yes, that would be a time for a clean install. Yeah, it would. I mean, and believe it or not, even sometimes with some motherboard manufacturers, if you go from an Intel, the same motherboard, let's say you do Asus and you got an Intel motherboard, if you go from Intel to AMD, all it does is it takes and installs the new drivers for the AMD motherboard, but still leaves in the Intel drivers. So if you go to swap it back, the Intel drivers are still there and it picks it back up. But if you don't, some people don't like having all that mess in their system. They're like, I don't want to keep all that in my system. I'm done and I go. So, hey, that's up to you. But I can tell you from my experience, I went from Intel to AMD and AMD back to Intel. I still didn't have an issue. But some people do because they don't understand that you can't take and rip all the drivers out. You got to leave some in there in order for the CPU to reinitialize with the motherboard and the operating system. So if you don't have it to where your CPU can't reinitialize with the motherboard and the coprocessor and all the apparels and everything else, then you run into that issue to where the motherboard locks up, tells you you need to start over again, and that's pretty much what'll happen. That you'll go into to where you got to go in and resolve everything by doing a fresh install. So that's the reason why I say if you're gonna switch from Intel to AMD and you want to switch back to Intel again, just leave the drivers alone. Don't mess with them, because they're in a folder. They're in a folder that says Intel. Then you got another folder that says AMD. So they keep them in those folders for a reason, because they swap the DLLs through them folders. So if you don't rip the folders out, you don't have the problem. I know that sounds like it's complicated and everything else, guys. We're not going to go into that complication part. But my experience, I have not had a problem yet with this NVMe drive. The actual original drive, let me see. Let me grab it. This has so much dust on it. This is my actual drive. This is where it started. This is my actual. It's a 500 gigabyte hard drive. This is the first drive it started on. So, that's the one I transferred off of. But the original is still there. So, I'm not losing anything. Because if I can take another NVMe drive, take that, do another copy, and guess what? Boom. I got Windows 10 again. You know, with the product key. So, doesn't matter. No, but does it make sense to you guys? If you, I always said like this: if you know how to clone a drive, okay. I know this is going way out the scope, but if you know how to clone a drive, and you have one original with the product key and everything on it, but it's set into local, I always recommend always set it into local. Make it a local SKU. So when you go to, and do not put a screen lock on your startup. When it comes to your operating system and, you know, for your computer, don't put a lock on the screen. Especially if you're building a primary drive that you're going to use to make copies of. Do not put a lock on that screen, because if you do, then it's going to require you to have your Windows account open. Do not put a PIN code. Do not put any codes, locks for your screens. Your startup screen when you turn on your PC, don't do that, because that is really going to set you back quite a bit. Always have a local account and no screen lock. That way you don't have to deal with Microsoft. So if you go to clone your drive to a new drive, then you won't have any problems. Let's say I don't want to use Windows 11 anymore, right? I can clone another drive and put Windows 10, the Windows 10 operating system that's already on there, clone it to a new M.2 NVMe drive, and then plug it in, and I'm done. Because all the drivers are already updated to that current time, but there's going to be a couple more updates after that fact. Because you can always plug that drive in and do your updates to your original drive. So, I'm just giving you, what you can do and, what would make it easier for you. I have also been one to leave most of my driver's support software installed and not have had too many issues. I like to have at least 1 to 2 drives that are the exact clone of my main drive. Yep. And there's always a reason why. Not unless you want to take and go and install all that crap and spend 4.5 hours, almost 5 hours, trying to update your, operating system and everything else. Because me, it usually takes 4.5 to 5 hours. Is because I go through and I manually put in and take out the Windows, the Windows drivers, and I go to the manufacturer's site and I install their drivers into my operating system. Because the ones that Windows use are junk. Their Windows drivers are crap. Said and put. That's the reason why I go to the manufacturer website and get all the updated drivers from them, install it, and take out, the old Windows crap. Because people don't understand is Windows catalog. They have what they call a catalog, and you should know this by now. Windows have a catalog that's dated back to Windows 95. Do you think they updated that catalog? Nope. That catalog has not been updated since 2013, maybe. So that's going back from 1981 up to 2013, 2014. But do you really think they updated it then? No. Because you can still find stuff from back from 1981 in Windows 11. Get that. I don't even know why. They should have updated from 81 to now. They haven't done that yet. Might be longer or shorter. The amount of time is all relative to your situation. Yeah. It is. But the thing is, it's more relative to everybody's situation when you go to, and get this, to take and, for the first time, putting a new operating system on a new motherboard, but to find out that you can't do that for the simple fact that the Windows drivers for your Ethernet won't even kick in. Finding out that Microsoft doesn't have the driver update for your Ethernet for your motherboard. What are you going to do then when you got this little catchphrase that you need to have internet in order to upgrade to Windows 11? I've already caught this. I already found out the issue. Because on my specific motherboard, Windows doesn't have, for this motherboard, they don't have, generic drivers for the network card. So I had to go and find them and then install them. And then the network card started working. That was the only thing I had problem with. Okay. But to find out that, that Microsoft didn't have it on their list, it makes you wonder. Because if you're trying to install your operating system and you can't install your operating system because it says it needs the internet, and they took away that little box that you can check and say, I don't have any internet right now. and then put you into a local account, they didn't think about this. Microsoft did not think about this. They need to update their driver software for 2024, because if they don't, then a lot of people are going to be quite pissed off, especially if they're trying to go and update to Windows 11, not from Windows 10, fresh install Windows 11, and they find out that the Ethernet card won't work, and they can't, get past that little thing that Microsoft has there, allowing you to go up to Windows 11, because you have no drivers for the input of your network. None. So what are you going to do then? How are you going to get into, your desktop in order to fix this? How are you going to bypass this? That's what Microsoft didn't think of. Because there are going to be times like that to where they don't have all the driver software to get into the Windows update or to actually log into your Microsoft account. So they took away that option of option of you having the chance to go to a local account in order to fix the driver software, so that way you can log into your account. They took all that away. And yeah, I agree, laziness. This is laziness. I mean, this is not the first time this has happened with the network card. This is not the first time it's happened. This has happened many a times over the years. And it seems like that same practice never changes. They go and they say, oh yeah, now we got Copilot plus PEC. Yeah. How good that does when they had to take and recall the recall out of the recall. I mean, but they still don't fix the problems that they have in their original operating system. And now they're getting ready to throw 24H2 on us. And guess what? If you don't have pop count or, 4.1A executable, you're not going to be able to get 24H2. And the screwiest thing I found out? My processor does not have, it's 4.1A or something like that. I got 4.2A, but I don't have 4.1A. And I've been doing some research on it, and it looks like that I have to dig into it a little bit more and download a program, and it's a free program to see if pop count will work on my processor. If not, then that means I'll have to go up to AM5. Or I'll have to get a 5900X. Or something like that. But I can't believe that the architecture would be that crappy. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. So that puts the responsibility of having what you need and have it accessible before it's needed. Having a USB flash drive or even a second SSD, most current drivers, unpack and ready to use. Yeah, but what are you going to do when there's no redirection? I can agree with half of what you're saying, But what if there's no redirection? What if it's whatever you got on your C drive and that the operating system only redirects to your internet and not another drive? What if it's not searching for that secondary drive? It did back on Windows 7. It did back on Windows 7 to where it would look for a secondary. But what if it's not doing it now? That's the thing. Do you not think I didn't have the driver software plugged into a USB port as soon as I booted it? Yeah, I did. I had all the driver software for that motherboard on a USB stick. Where is that? Right here. And guess what happened? It did not load. So that means I had to hit, what was that, Shift F10 or something like that, and go in manually and do a bypass on the internet in order to get into the operating system. That's what I had to do. I had to do a bypass when you can do it. The the out of box experience, the codes for that, the NRO code. You probably know what I'm talking about. So I did the bypass to bypass my internet. I got onto the operating system. I got onto the desktop. I plugged in the new drivers. They're already plugged in, but I went and installed the new drivers off of this. Got the network card to work. So after that, it wasn't a problem. So there was a bypass. But some people don't know about the bypass. Because when Microsoft decided to take out the bypass. So that's why I was hesitating to go from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Well, yeah, I mean, but the hesitation would have been the hardware itself. If it was equipped to go from Windows 7 to Windows 10. That's why Microsoft put out there, what was it? A preview version of Windows 10 for you to test out on a Windows 7 system. They gave you a preview version, a 32-bit preview version of Windows 10. Not a 64-bit. They did in the beginning, they did a 32-bit, and then after that they did a 64-bit. So I did the 32-bit, tried it out on my PC, worked fine. I tried the 64-bit, didn't work out so good. And that's when Microsoft said, and gave everybody the finger, said you better be running a 64-bit system because that's all we're going to give you. They took away the 32-bit and they went to 64 and they gave everybody the finger. So, yep, knowledge is power. I do agree. But a lot of people don't know that, It's just like with Windows 95 to Windows 98. They switched the processors. See, now, with Windows 98, you couldn't run Windows 95 on that certain processor. It's an 8086, but they went to x86, and then you couldn't run Windows 95 on x86. Total different architecture. Not a lot of people knew that, and they were trying to load, because I had people coming to me and they're like, man, I can't get this Windows 95 to load on this processor. What's going on? I said, okay, there's two different type of processors. The focus of Windows 95 was on 8086, which was your 286. Then they come up with your x86, which went up to a 386. So, I asked him, which focus of processor do you have? He says, oh, I got the 386SX. It's like, dude, I'm like, okay. I said, you're going to be better off with Windows 95 or 98 than you would be with 95. I can tell you Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows XP, Windows Me, Windows Vista were all garbage. Nothing but Crash City every freaking day. Nothing but people complaining over and over to me. This operating system's not working. This is not working. You can fix a computer for somebody for one day off of Windows 95. And they're bringing it back to you the next day and saying the computer won't start. The operating system won't load. I'm like, what did you do? Oh, I just downloaded something. Yeah. Pretty much the same song and dance. You just loaded something. You loaded something your computer can't handle, and guess what happened? You crashed your operating system. No, what they did is they loaded a game profile, and they decided to run all their games and store all their games all the way up to the max of the hard drive. Everybody knows you have to leave a 20% margin on your hard drive in order for the operating system to operate. You only could use up 80% of your hard drive. Don't matter. SSD, don't matter. You use up more than 80%, you're going to start putting a choke on your operating system and choking your PC to death. So, I mean, you want your PC to crawl like a turtle, that's pretty much what's going to happen. You need 20% of hard drive space in order to operate Windows. Said and put. So, pretty much I had to go in there, plug their drive into a secondary slot, go in and take half of that damn information out, plug it back into their computer, restart it, boom, fires up. So, what I did was, to solve this issue of gaming, I said, you have two slots. And this is off of your regular hard drives back in the day. These, right here. These. Regular hard drives. Said you got two slots. What you can do is you can take that secondary slot, make it a slave drive. You got your master, you got your slave. So you take and you can have that secondary drive as a slave and put all your games there. After that, I haven't heard a word from them since. So obviously, if that goes back in Windows, or back to 1987. So I haven't heard nothing back from 1987. So obviously they probably got a new computer by then, hopefully. Not unless they're still running that old 386 dinosaur. That would be something. Somebody running that 386 dinosaur back on Windows 95. Or Windows 98. Or whatever. Windows 98. That was a nightmare in itself, guys. But you know what's so funny about that? Is the operating system back then was... I think I paid $69 for Windows 98. You got your first version and you got your second version. And then you got your extensions. You know, you got like almost $200 worth the programming just for that operating system back then. And do you think it's any cheaper now? No, because it's like what, $300 for Windows 11? No, you can go get a CD key for like $23. So, it's cheaper today than it was back in the 80s. I like telling you guys these stories is because, you know, you guys, if you haven't been back there back in the day, some people have been back there in the days, but some people haven't. They don't know. They don't even know that back in the day that, you know, when the internet started first coming out, that was dial-up. And everybody will be looking at you. They'll be looking at you and, what's dial-up? Have you ever had somebody say that to you? What's dial-up? I was like, you guys don't know what dial-up is? They're like, no, what's dial-up? And that's today. Nobody really knows about what dial-up is. Love this type of content. Thanks, man. Thanks. But, you know, dial-up is where you had your little telephone and it go, you know, bzz, 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 makes a little noise. And then you put it on the thing. But they come out with something better. They come out with the switch box that you connect directly from your wall. You have a little switch box, and then that connects directly to your computer. So basically, you would hear that little ringtone that they use for the dial-up. And then you would connect to the internet. But that was stupidly slow. I mean, yeah, good old days. 96 bits per second? Oh my God. Bits. I mean, bytes. Bits. 96 bits per second. You could go all the way up to 11,200 bits per second. That's about the fast you can do on dial-up. Then they come out with DSL. And that's the first time everybody thought that 1 megabyte was fast. 1 megabyte they thought was fast. Because it would go from 720 kilobytes up to 1 megabyte. They thought that was fast. And then they started getting faster, and then, you know. Then they come up with cable. Cable got into the action. And then they started running the cable. Then you got like, what, 5 megs per second? To like, on a download and upload was like 1 meg per second. And then it started getting faster. So, bulletin board systems, grandpa on the internet. Yeah. I mean, for real, man. I mean, this is pretty much how it started. I mean, I remember when the World Wide Web came online. I know y'all, if y'all been there, y'all know what I'm talking about. There was the first website that you could take and go to. The first one. And it sure wasn't Facebook. Facebook was not the first one. But I can tell you the first website that did come out was called Metaverse. Yeah, the same Metaverse that Facebook bought was the first one that came out on the internet for a 3D world. Same one. Little bit of history lesson for y'all. Y'all think I'm wrong about that. No, I'm not. I know the history of the internet. I know what was created back when it first came out and what first started. Because remember, if you start with a blank canvas and you got nothing on that canvas, guess what? How does it start? Got to think about it. So, I remember when let me put it this way. I remember then when they had, you have your 3D now. Then you had back then, you had 2D and 1D. Could you imagine 1D? That's more or less like taking, a little bit of a photo, moving it around on the screen, like, 1D. Could you imagine that? Sick. We all first started out as not as 3D people. We started out as 1D robots. That's how they started out Metaverse, as 1D robots. If you didn't know. So we get to pick amongst robots as our characters. So, just to let you know that. Okay, enough of the history lesson. You guys are probably going to get bored and everything else. I don't want to bore you guys. But if you guys do got a question, you want to ask the question, that's the reason why today's event is going on, is because if you got a question about PCs, then you can ask the question. But what surprises me is I go back and if I look and pull up my account thingy here, there is something that bothers me in the comments. This is basically when people talk about bottlenecking. Yep, early avatars. But when people talk about bottlenecking, okay, I want to ask you this question. What do you think bottlenecking is? Is it between your monitor and your GPU? Or is it between your CPU and your GPU? Or is it between your CPU and your system RAM? Where do you think the bottleneck is? I want to see who's got that answer. And I can tell you right now, I already know the answer. So, but I want to see if y'all know the answer. So, I'll give you guys time to answer that question for me. And yes, I understand that, and going back to the 1080p monitor, yes, before I upgraded my systems, just to let you know, I used a 1080p monitor, which you can see right here, before I built my systems. So, I'm still using 1080p monitors. I ain't ashamed of it. I still get great gameplay on it, so I can care less about 1440p or 4K. $200. 100. $200 for both monitors. So I can really care less about when it comes to monitors. It is what it is. Okay. As long as my visualization can look onto that screen and I can see how the games operate. I can see, and I like the graphics. I'm not going to rock the boat. Why would I take and turn around and go spend $300 or $400 on a monitor when I got perfectly working monitors now? Oh, because of the graphics. Oh my God. That is just so asinine. Guys, if you're on a budget and you put yourself on a budget, people should respect that you're on that budget, so that way they understand it's a budget build. When I first got my monitors, it was a budget build. So, John Paul says 1080p is what everything is judged by. Yeah, that it is. That is the foundation of your monitors. No matter which way you look at it, you're not going to get rid of 1080p. It's the foundation of your monitor. Even though your monitor might say 1440p or 4K, it's still based upon the same foundation as 1080p. And in actuality, if you really want to get down to it, yeah, pretty much same foundation. And that's the foundation everybody plays games on when it comes to your Xbox systems and all that. You guys really think somebody's going to be going out and spending like $400 on a monitor? Or, like everybody says, go get a used one. Yeah, go get one that'll last you about 30 to 60 days, and then it burns up. You know, already been there, already done it. I don't recommend it. So, simple said and put. You know, you guys want to see the TV? I got it sitting right here. I didn't get rid of it yet because I use it and I look at it every day as a reminder to getting screwed buying a monitor on eBay. So that reminds me every day that I put out a bunch of money and got nothing in return. So yeah, I've come to the conclusion, either you're going to buy new or you're not going to buy anything. I either buy new or I'm not buying anything. Maybe in time I'll have a little bit more trust if eBay starts testing the product before it comes to the consumer and guarantees that the product's going to work. Like Java does. They're supposed to. So. But if there's no guarantee that the product's going to work, there's no sense of me even going and buying used product. I'm using a TV as my computer display versus having a monitor. Well, if you can see on my screen, right here, this right here, that's a smart TV. What's above it, right here, that's a monitor. This is a monitor right here. This is a smart TV. Okay? You guys can see what I'm doing right here. So, one's a smart TV and the other one's a monitor. Both 1080p, both at 60 hertz. Both from Walmart. I bought both of these from Walmart for $100 each. So, I'm happy with it. It does the job. And people got to understand too that smart TVs have better frequency. They have better pixels built into the monitor, the TV itself, than a regular monitor has. When people watch movies and stuff, they want the sharpness of the pixels and everything else. So, even buying it at 1080p, they want the sharpness of the pixels. You're still going to get it on a smart TV. You have different modes of settings on a smart TV compared to, you know, a regular monitor. At least I got speakers on the front of my TV, and I don't need extra speakers. That's a good thing. So, and yeah, I mean, I do agree using a TV as a monitor because it's got better pixelation. You know, people claim that, they say, "Oh no, it don't. It got worse pixelation than everything." I've heard that so many damn times. My screen looks great, and you guys are looking at my screen right now, right here. Does it look pixeled? Do I look pixeled? I kind of look like Abe Lincoln, kind of. If I take and go dark with this, I kind of look like an Abe Lincoln. Just saying. So, but anyway, guys, we're getting down on time. We got a couple minutes left. Oh, I don't. Damn. Well, I give you guys a chance to do a Q&A today, you know. Throw your questions into the ring and see what comes up. I do that once in a while, so this way it gives you time to ask your questions, especially if you're building a PC and you're a first-time builder. You can get your questions in, and anybody in the chat that's on the stream can answer your question as well as me. So you get your answers from skilled people that are on the stream. So it's not like if you're doing this, you know, building for the first time, that you won't get your answers. You'll get pretty good answers. You know. You ask the right questions and you'll get the right answers. Even if you ask the wrong questions, we'll figure it out and get you the right answers. So it's not hard. And I always told everybody, you know, when I'm live, if you want to ask me a question, you're more than happy to, and we'll get you the best answer we can. If I don't, somebody else will in the chat. I like this with this one guy put on, what was it? I'm not sure who it was, but he puts on there, I've been gaming for over 30 years. That's what he said to me. He left me a, you know, because he wasn't happy with my monitor. He says to me, I've been gaming over 30 years. Okay, and the point was, I've been working on electronics. I've been building computers for longer. I've been gaming for longer. So me using a 1080p monitor and using dynamic screen resolution to bring up the resolution to 1440p or 4K without having to get a new monitor saves me money. Even if you say it cost me $96, saves me $96 because inflation doesn't pay the bills. Understand that. I'm just saying, because inflation doesn't pay the bills. And if you got these companies that you buy this hardware from, they build this software and they put all this stuff on this software, why the hell would you not use it? Why would you not explore using the software? So that basically means you pay for the hardware, but you don't want to use the software to go along with it. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm using every aspect of the software that comes with my GPU, that comes with my CPUs, and whatever that I can get onto my PC. Whatever software that I can get that doesn't cost me an arm and a leg, which all of that is for free. Once you buy your parts, All the software comes for free. So you're not costing yourself. But answer the question, why, ask yourself this hardcore question. Why would you buy hardware that you're not going to implement the software? That you're only going to use 1/3 of the software. So you just threw that extra money that you put into this GPU, motherboard, or whatever out the window. You just threw that money out the door. Because now you're saying to yourself, oh, now I got to go get this new, that new. And by the time you get all your new monitors, 4K monitors and whatever, guess what's going to happen? You got all this 4K. But you know what it comes down to? When you look at the FPS and it's down to 30 FPS and, it's hesitating, stuttering, and everything else, then you wish you would have went the other way and saved your money and waited for something better to come out. That's what I'm saying. I can't remember what it was called, but older GPUs had an option to scale down from a higher resolution to get better experience. Yeah, it's called, what was it? Dynamic super resolution, or I usually say dynamic screen resolution. That's what I say. They call it a super resolution, to where you can upscale it and downscale it. Or is it super screen resolution, SSR, something like that. But there's a mistake. There's a mistake that everybody makes. There's one mistake that you all make. And you think by buying a new monitor it's going to make anything better. It's not. Let me pull this up. This is something that I couldn't wrap my head around. Maybe y'all can help me get my head around this. Let's see. Maybe y'all can help me get my head around this. I can't get my head around this. Yeah. I cannot get my head around this. Alright. Action screen. Here we go. I can't blow this up any bigger, but why in the hell I got generic monitor drivers? That's what it says. Display adapters right, but generic monitor drivers. Okay. So, the thing is this. If your monitor... Oh, my bad, sorry. If your monitor does not have comprehensive drivers, the monitor is going to rely solely on what's on its chip. But if you remember going back in the day when they had VGA, you had monitor drivers that controlled the screen from your PC. That actually controlled the screen from your PC. That was baked into the drivers of the monitor. Now, they don't have that option anymore. Yeah, you can change the resolution. Yeah, you can change the color. But there's some things you cannot change on those monitors. You don't have the function, the full functioning of that monitor. If the drivers were linked to the main chip that was on that monitor, then you have 100% control of that monitor. But now you don't. Back then in VGA days, yeah, you did. But now you don't. So you're only getting 50% of potential out of your monitor. I say 50% because that's what I feel that you get is 50%. Is because your computer only has one half of the control. The other half of the control is still baked on the chip that's built into your monitors. Some monitors do have full 100% control from your PC. Most of them don't. So, if you get somebody that, most of your consumers, the way prices are and everything else, they can't even afford $50 to get a new monitor. So they're using 1080p. They're using a 60 hertz monitor at 1080p, playing on the internet, playing their games and everything else. Guarantee it. Even your older crowd, like 50 and 60 and up, 70% are still playing on 1080p at 60 hertz. I know this sounds like it's like a song and dance, but when somebody tells me that, and they tell me, they's like, everybody's on 4K. There is nobody on 1080p no more. Why are you talking to people about 1080p? Because those are usually the ones that don't have the money to go out there and buy a brand new 4K monitor, which sits at least at $350. A decent monitor at $350. You think they're really going to scratch out of their pocket? All they're going to do is pull lint. Lint. Simple, straight, and put. So they're going to use their 1080p monitor the best way they can. So when they learn that they have optional programs like DSR that they can use to modify the screen resolution to make it a little bit better for them, to give them a little bit more edge on their 1080p monitor, then people are going to be grateful for that. There's not a lot of people go and use DSR. Everybody's got this mind baked that they have to buy a new monitor. It's bullshit. Thir 3440x 1440 gang, yeah, pretty much. But let's see. Let's do this the right way. Okay, let's go into the display settings and let's pull this up. Okay. Okay. Now, watch this. Right here. Let me pull it down a little bit for you. Watch this. See what that says? See what that says right there? That says 2130. That says 3840x 2160. This is a 1080p monitor. This is 1080p monitor. Right here, 1920 x 1080. How come I got 4K right here, but it's only a 1080p monitor? I wonder why. This is the second monitor. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do 2160. Hold on. Okay. So, keep changes. Now let's see. What's changed? Let's see. If you're looking, there. If you're really looking, there. So, this right here, there. Now it's at 100%. Do you notice any difference? Probably not. You guys probably won't notice the difference, but I do. This is set at 4K. This right here is set at 4K. Now we'll set it backwards. That's set at 1080p. You didn't see a difference. But I did over here. I seen a big difference between 4K and 1080p. So, you guys didn't see a difference, but I did. So, this is the dumb fabrication of the user. Don't tell the people to learn and know what they could do or maybe should do. Well, I'm not telling anybody to learn and know anything, man. I'm just giving you an idea. I'm just giving you an idea of what you can do with the hardware you have on hand. That's all I'm doing. I'm just telling you what you can do with the hardware you have on hand. Okay. So, I mean, that's up to you. If you want to change things and make it better for your situation, that's up to you. So, if people want to, to try it out, try it out. I mean, it's there. That's all I'm saying. It's there. There's much more to it. You can change your anti-analyzing and all that. You can change many things that's in there in your control panel that you don't need to do with, your games. There are some things on your games that the display settings that you can't do on that game, but you can do it from your control panel and switch it up and make it better. There are many things you can do. But I don't tell anybody to do anything. They want to do it, they do it on their own, they try it out, they test it to see if they like it, and if they don't like it, then they put it back. So, yeah, experience is the base of knowledge. Yeah, I do agree. But all I'm saying, there's much more to your PC than it's being led to believe. If you go and look into the software part, instead of looking at the hardware part, start looking in the software part, you'll start seeing that you have more to do with your PC. Everybody's got the scared tactic. Well, if I do this, I'm going to screw something up. Get over it. It's just hardware. And it's just software. You can always fix it. It's a fixable issue. You can always fix it. Never be afraid to take and experiment with your products. Don't be afraid of it. It's not going to bite you. And it's not going to fail you. And it's fixable. When it comes to the PC world, everything is fixable. So there's no room for saying it's not fixable. Everything is fixable. So just keep that in mind. I really want you to keep that in mind so you understand for the fact that when it comes to trying to fix your products, even your motherboard or whatever, you can make one minor mistake. And like everybody says, okay, this is what I hear from a lot of people. Oh my God, don't do this. You'll brick your motherboard. Okay. I don't know how many times I've heard that. And I know there's a solution to fix every little thing on your motherboard. Because I work with electronics as well. So I can go in there and fix and solder everything. And, go into the BIOS. I can get that little device to take and fix the BIOS chip, rewrite it, and then put it back onto the motherboard, and boom, I'm back up off the race. If I put the wrong driver sequence in it. Not hard. Okay? It's not hard for me. Some people it would be, but it's not hard for me. Because I took my time to learn these things. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I took my time to learn these things. Took over many years to learn these things. But to solder and to desolder, know what kind of tools and everything to use, yeah. You take your time to learn all these things. So. But, I always get these little smirks and emails that like, oh my God, I watched your video. Dude, it's all wrong. Oh, how can my videos be wrong when I'm giving you the facts? And these facts that I've learned over the period of years, I'm giving you the facts. So I'm not giving you an opinion. If it's a product that new that comes out, yeah, I'm going to give you my opinion. If you want to know if it's good or bad or the ugly, yeah, I'll let you know if it's good, bad, or ugly. So, but if it's good, I'm going to tell you. If it's bad, I'm going to tell you. Either way, like I always said, I'm going to tell you. So, take your time. If you want to learn how to build PCs, take your time. Learn the main parts of your PC. Learn what your motherboard does. Learn what your CPU processor does. Learn what your system RAM does. Learn what your SSD does or your hard drive. And learn what your graphics card or your integrated graphics, Learn what your sound card is, your Type A drives, your USB Type A drives, and even your RGB. But I don't run my RGB on the motherboard. I run my RGB. That's running my RGB. But anyway, guys, this has been fun. I hope you guys had a good time. And if you do got questions, and we're here every Saturday at 5 p.m., if you do have questions, you're more than happy to get into the chat. Leave your question there. I'll look at it. I'll answer it. And I'll read off your question, and I'll answer your question. If I can't answer it, I will tell you I can't answer that. So But if I can answer it, I will answer it. That's fair enough. But anyway, I want you guys to have a safe day and everything else. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And if you're just watching this live stream for the first time, subscribe. Put a like on the live stream if you can. And don't forget to hit the notification so you'll know when I post the next video. And I'm glad you enjoyed John Paul. I'm glad you had a good time. And y'all have a great day. And we're jumping out of here, and we'll see you. And we'll see you on the... Maybe someone else can answer it. Yeah. John Paul, yeah. Look, that's the reason why it's open chat. That's the reason why, you know, when people, this live streams comes about, in the chat, people can ask questions, and if I can't answer them, you know, there's somebody in the chat that can. So, always keep that in mind. And you the same, John. You the same as well. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a great day and be safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.